Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something pretty much every electric vehicle owner deals with every single day, but honestly, very few people have totally mastered. We're talking about the complete EV charging ecosystem. I've pulled together the best stuff right out of Tesla's official manuals, deep dive community forums, and expert tutorials to build what is essentially a total masterclass for us today. Whether you're literally just waiting to take delivery of your very first EV or you've been driving one for years, this explainer is completely designed to transform how you interact with your car. We're going to strip away all the confusion, look at how to optimize your battery health, and give you the exact step-by-step hacks to handle some of the most frustrating winter weather and hardware hiccups you could possibly run into. Okay, let's dive into this masterclass. We'll start off with Section 1, the charging basics. Then we'll tackle Section 2, the 80% versus 100% rule. From there, we are jumping into Section 3, winter weather pro tips. Then Section 4, troubleshooting a stuck cable. And finally, Section 5, supercharging other EVs. All right, Section 1, the charging basics. Let's start right at the beginning with the absolute fundamentals of your daily charging experience. Getting your car plugged in shouldn't feel like a puzzle, right? Knowing all your options can just make your daily routine incredibly seamless. You know, the engineers actually gave you a ton of flexibility for something as simple as popping open that charge port door. The most common way? Just pressing the little button right on the Tesla charge cable connector while the car is in park. Super easy. But hey, if you're using older charging equipment or maybe a third-party station that doesn't have that button, you've got plenty of backups. You can just tap the lightning bolt icon on your center touch screen, use the phone app if you're walking up to it, hold down the rear trunk button on your key fob for about 1 to 2 seconds, or you can literally just use voice commands. The whole goal here is just total, seamless convenience, no matter what kind of charging scenario you happen to walk into. Now, once you do plug in, the car actually talks to you through that little Tesla T logo lighting up right next to the port. You can totally think of this light system as your ultimate cheat code. So, white or light blue, that means the port is open and ready. When you plug in, a blue light means it's connected and communicating with the charger. Now, what you really want to see before you walk away is that blinking green light. That confirms charging is actively in progress, and it's going to turn solid green when you're completely topped off. Now, what if you see amber? Well, that means either the connector isn't fully seated or you're charging at a reduced current for some reason. And a red light? Yeah, no good. That means a fault was detected and charging has completely stopped. Just a quick pro tip. Always look for that green pulse before you walk away from your car. Moving right along to Section 2, the 80% versus 100% rule. We're shifting gears now to one of the most hotly debated and honestly frequently misunderstood topics in modern EV ownership. I mean, this is the source of endless forum posts and so much new owner anxiety. And here's the exact question that is constantly driving users crazy on platforms like Reddit. Why does my app say charge to 100% when literally everyone tells me to stop at 80%? It's so confusing. For years, the absolute golden rule of EVs was to never, ever charge past 80% for daily driving, to protect battery health. But now newer owners are opening up their apps and seeing the car explicitly telling them to charge to 100%. So let's clear up exactly why this happens. The aha moment here comes entirely down to battery chemistry. Older models or the long-range and performance versions typically use NMC or NCA batteries, which are nickel-based. For these cars, that 80% rule absolutely still applies. Charging them to 100% all the time keeps them at a high state of charge, which stresses out those chemical cells and causes long-term degradation. But if you have a newer base or standard range model, you most likely have an LFP or lithium iron phosphate battery. And here's the thing, LFP batteries are incredibly durable, but more importantly, they have this very flat voltage curve. Because the voltage doesn't actually change much between 20% and 80%, the car's internal battery management system can literally lose track of how much energy is actually in there. So, to fix this, Tesla explicitly requires you to charge an LFP battery to 100% at least once a week. Doing that calibrates the sensors so it can give you accurate range estimates. And this brilliantly illustrates the practical takeaway for all you LFP owners out there. It's a quote from the Reddit community and it puts it perfectly. Treat it more like a gas car. Let it discharge to, say, 30%, then charge all the way up to 100% overnight. Seriously, by spiking the battery up to 100%, the computer knows exactly where the top is, it zeroes out any of those accumulated errors, and your range estimates stay perfectly accurate. So just check your app. If it splits your charging into daily and trip limits, you've got an NMC battery, stick to 80%. But if it just tells you to charge to 100% weekly, you've got an LFP, and you can freely fill that thing up without an ounce of guilt. All right, on to Section 3,
Winter weather pro tips. Let's pivot to a totally different scenario, surviving the absolute frustrations of your first freezing winter. Electric vehicles just behave very differently when the temperature drops. And trust me, a little preparation goes a really long way.
The absolute best habit you can possibly build in the winter is preemptively warming up that battery. Tesla actually recommends scheduling your preconditioning 30 to 45 minutes before you plan to leave. Why? Because a cold battery physically cannot accept a fast charge. And even more crucially, it limits your regenerative braking. That means taking your foot off the accelerator just won't slow the car down as much as you're used to. Preconditioning obviously warms the cabin up for you, but the real magic is that it gets that high-voltage battery up to an optimal temperature, ensuring you get maximum range and full regenerative braking the very second you pull out of your driveway.
Okay, but what happens when you walk up to your car and those fancy flush door handles are frozen solid under a literal sheet of ice? Well, if you have the older silver door handles, the manual actually prescribes a surprisingly physical, almost martial arts-like routine. You definitely do not want to use tools or try to pry at it. Instead, you forcefully press the rearmost part of the handle. Then, kind of acting like you're knocking on your neighbor's front door, use the bottom of your fist to forcefully bump around the perimeter of the handle to fracture the ice. Aim those bumps right at the rearmost end of the wide part. Once it finally pops loose, just open and close it a few times to clear out any of that remaining icy debris. The key takeaway here? Forceful bumps with a fleshy fist, absolutely no sharp tools that are going to ruin your paint.
Beyond getting physical with it, your Tesla app honestly acts as your digital winter survival toolkit. If your charge port is frozen shut, please don't force it. Just use the defrost car feature in the app, or you can actually go into the service menu and turn on the inlet heater, which specifically targets the charge port latch to thaw it out. Also, highly recommended, use wiper service mode when you park. This raises the wipers up a bit so they don't freeze right to the bottom of the windshield. Oh, and turn off your auto-fold mirrors. You really don't want those little motors burning out trying to unfold a frozen mirror housing.
Let's keep moving. Section 4. Troubleshooting a stuck cable. We're ramping up the energy now because we are entering the expert-level troubleshooting portion of this masterclass. Sometimes it's not actually ice holding your cable hostage. Sometimes the technology just kind of gets confused, and your charging cable outright refuses to unlock from the car.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just how simple the software fix usually is. We're looking at a great tip highlighted in a popular YouTube tutorial. If the button on the charging handle isn't releasing the latch, don't panic and definitely don't yank on it. Just hop into the driver's seat, hit the little car symbol to open your settings, navigate down to the charging menu, and simply tap Unlock Charge Port. Honestly, manually overriding the lock through the center touchscreen is usually all it takes to release the whole mechanism. But let's look at an expert physical hack for when the software completely fails you. If that screen trick doesn't work, there is a manual release. First, and this is a massive safety warning, ensure the vehicle is not actively charging. Seriously, hit stop charging on the screen first. Then, pop open your rear trunk. Hitting right inside the trim near the charge port is a little manual release cable. Here's the exact sequence. You need to pull this release cable downwards first, and then, while it is physically unlatched, pull the charge cable out of the port. Never, ever pull both at the same time. And please, only use this as an absolute last resort to avoid damaging your locking mechanism. And finally, Section 5, Supercharging Other EVs. For this last section, we're going to shift our perspective a bit. You see, Tesla's supercharger network used to be this totally exclusive, walled garden, but the future of electric vehicle charging is rapidly becoming incredibly inclusive. So the crucial point is understanding this exact acronym, NACS. That stands for the North American Charging System. This is actually the exact plug shape that was originally developed by Tesla way back in 2012. Recognizing that we really needed a unified standard, Tesla opened this proprietary design up to the entire industry, and it was officially formalized by the Society of Automotive Engineers as the SAE J3400 standard. What does this mean? Basically, almost every major automaker out there, from Ford and GM all the way to Honda and Porsche, has now committed to adopting this exact standard plug for all their future vehicles. Because of this massive industry shift, access to Tesla's superchargers now basically falls into 3 distinct tiers. First up, there are still some Tesla-only chargers, which remain completely exclusive to their own vehicles. Second are the all-EV superchargers. These are brilliant. They actually feature a built-in Magic Dock adapter that magically unlocks through the Tesla app, allowing older vehicles with the CCS plug to charge up. And finally, we have the rapidly growing network of NACS superchargers. These are available to any non-Tesla vehicle that either comes naturally equipped with a NAS port from the factory or uses an official approved manufacturer DC adapter. The Tesla app makes this whole thing incredibly easy. Non-Tesla owners just download the app, plug in their vehicle details, and the map shows them exactly which stations they're allowed to use on their next road trip. But this newfound convenience across the industry definitely comes with a necessary cost. With so many more vehicles flooding the network, keeping the charging lines moving is absolutely paramount. Because of that, Tesla has implemented congestion fees and idle fees that now apply to all EVs, regardless of what brand you're driving. Basically, if a Supercharger site is at capacity and your car is fully charged, or you go over a specific congestion limit, you're going to start getting billed just for taking up space. It's a pretty strong financial incentive to unplug and hit the road so the next driver can actually get the charge they need. And that brings us to the end of our masterclass. We have gone from the basic plug-in methods and battery chemistry, straight through winter survival and emergency cable releases, all the way out to the unification of the entire charging network, which really leaves us with one massive industry-shifting question to ponder. With the entire EV world standardizing around the NACS plug and those old walled gardens falling away in favor of universal access, will range anxiety and charging anxiety soon become a completely forgotten relic of the early EV era? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. I hope you learned a ton. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.